Imagine a radical transformation. The youngest member of a family that migrated from Kuwait to London became one of the most feared figures in the world. First heard of in 2014, Mohammed Emwazi became known to the world as Jihadi John, and his terrifying figure was forever etched into memory with ISIS's brutal execution videos. The true identity behind the mask and Emwazi's allegiance to radical ideologies sparked great concern in both the media and international security forces. His actions demonstrated how the representation of violence and terror in the media could reverberate globally. Emwazi's youth, his education in computer science, and his life in London provided an environment that steered him toward radicalism. While on the one hand, he was progressing through education and professional experiences, on the other hand, his interest in radical ideologies was rapidly growing. This process led to his acquaintance with groups like ISIS and the formation of deep connections with them. Emwazi's combination of technology and radical ideologies to step into the criminal world highlights how swiftly his personal and social transformation occurred. Emwazi's role within ISIS emerged as a consequence of his adoption of radical ideology and his transformation of this ideology into a global propaganda effort. By the early 2010s, with deepening connections to radical groups and the violent strategies of ISIS, Emwazi succeeded in spreading fear worldwide through execution videos. His strategy of secrecy and masked appearances allowed him to keep his identity hidden while amplifying ISIS's media influence. Ultimately, his being targeted by international security forces and killed in 2015 shook ISIS's morale and brought global attention to radical violence, reshaping security strategies. Mohammed Emwazi is a figure known globally as Jihadi John. He gained notoriety through his appearances in ISIS's execution videos, where he masked his identity, leaving a deep imprint on international media. His identity was revealed in 2014, and his barbaric methods of execution caused widespread shock and fear around the world. Emwazi's videos became known not just for the violent acts, but also for the way they were represented in the media, amplifying the global impact of his actions. These brutal executions cemented his image as a figure of global terror. The widespread media attention surrounding Emwazi was closely tied not only to the horror of his actions, but also to the manner in which these actions were broadcasted. His execution videos, published as part of ISIS's propaganda, ensured that his name would leave a lasting impression on the public. As a result, his name became synonymous with terror. Emwazi was born in Kuwait in 1988 and emigrated to the United Kingdom with his family in 1994. Growing up in London, he pursued a degree in computer science and worked various jobs to make a living. From a young age, Emwazi began developing an interest in radical Islamist ideologies, which would significantly impact the course of his life. His experiences in education and work played a role in shaping him before his turn toward radicalism. His years in the United Kingdom influenced his worldview and ideological leanings. His youthful interest in radical ideas, especially due to his engagement with computer science and technology, allowed him easy access to radical ideologies online. This facilitated his eventual connection with radical groups and, later, his integration into organizations like ISIS. This process marked a significant turning point in his personal and societal development. In the 2010s, Emwazi deepened his connections with radical Islamist groups and decided to embrace ISIS's ideology, particularly as the group gained prominence. Through his involvement with these radical groups and his services to their goals, he took his first steps into the criminal world. This process led to Emwazi's integration into ISIS's militant structure and the establishment of his role within the organization. His decision to join ISIS marked a major turning point in his life. It facilitated his adoption of radical ideology and his participation in violent actions. Emwazi's entry into the criminal world was shaped by his deepening relationships with radical groups and their ideological influence. This process culminated in his appearance in execution videos and his role in spreading fear internationally. Emwazi was known as a militant affiliated with ISIS, an organization that became a significant force in 2014, controlling large swaths of territory in the Middle East. Emwazi embraced the group's ideology and actively contributed to ISIS's propaganda efforts. He played a central role in ISIS's media and propaganda strategies, helping spread the organization's messages on a global scale. The people and groups Emwazi was connected with were individuals who shared radical Islamist ideology and participated in violent activities in service of ISIS's objectives. His network was filled with individuals who supported this ideology and implemented ISIS's strategies. This environment supported and facilitated Emwazi's radical activities and his infamous role in the execution videos. Emwazi's crimes were especially highlighted through his appearances in ISIS's execution videos. These videos were used as propaganda tools aimed at instilling global fear by brutally executing hostages. His crimes were widely documented by international media, generating significant outrage around the world. The execution videos were the most notorious and widely recognized aspects of Emwazi's crimes. These videos not only showcased ISIS's violent actions, but also shocked the international community and caused widespread fear. Emwazi's crimes made him a globally known figure of terror, with his violent acts drawing widespread condemnation. Detailed information about Emwazi's close associates is limited, but it is known that other figures within ISIS shared similar radical views. These individuals were committed to the ideological goals of the group and engaged in violent activities. Emwazi's circle consisted largely of radical Islamist and violence-driven individuals, forming a network that supported his criminal activities. This close circle of associates embraced ISIS's radical ideology and worked toward the organization's objectives. The individuals around Emwazi implemented ISIS's violent strategies and contributed to its propaganda efforts. This connection is directly related to his criminal profile and radical actions, as these people were part of ISIS's broader violent campaign. Emwazi concealed his identity by appearing masked in the execution videos, making it difficult to determine who he was. The use of masked appearances was a deliberate strategy to keep his true identity hidden. Additionally, ISIS's media operations and propaganda techniques played a key role in making Emwazi's actions known globally. By employing masks and false identities, Emwazi attempted to maintain his anonymity while benefiting from ISIS's media strategies. These methods allowed him to keep his actions concealed, while simultaneously aiding the global dissemination of the group's message. His secrecy strategies were part of his effort to instill global fear and effectively carry out propaganda. The event that most significantly contributed to Emwazi's recognition was the series of execution videos he made between 2014 and 2015. These videos showed the brutal executions of hostages from the US and European countries, sparking a global outcry. These executions, as part of ISIS's violent strategies, associated Emwazi's name with fear and terror on an international scale. These execution videos were central to ISIS's propaganda strategy and caused widespread shock around the world. Emwazi's role in these acts made him globally recognized and turned him into one of the most feared figures. This series of events was pivotal in cementing Emwazi's reputation as a global symbol of terror. In 2015, Emwazi was killed in a US airstrike. The operation targeted Emwazi in the Raqqa region of Syria, where he was known to be. His death was part of broader international efforts to dismantle ISIS and neutralize key figures within radical groups. Emwazi's death was the result of being targeted by international security forces. His death was the outcome of joint efforts by international security and intelligence agencies. This operation was a crucial step in weakening ISIS and eliminating radical figures. Emwazi's death impacted the group's morale and encouraged a more focused approach toward countering violent extremism globally. The search for Emwazi involved extensive intelligence gathering and tracking efforts. The US and other nations employed various methods to identify Emwazi and monitor his movements. Facial recognition technology and other security tools were utilized as part of this process. His capture was a testament to the role of modern technology and international cooperation. Intelligence gathering efforts required a broad attempt to track and identify Emwazi's movements and identity. Security tools and technological methods facilitated the effective execution of this process, helping international security forces locate him. This effort underscores the importance of technology and international collaboration in addressing security threats. Emwazi's death dealt a significant blow to ISIS's propaganda and militant activities. His death affected the group's morale and lessened the terror he had instilled in the global media. Additionally, after his death, international efforts to closely monitor ISIS and eliminate other radical figures intensified. Emwazi's death highlighted the importance of international security strategies and the fight against radical violence. His death not only impacted ISIS's morale, but also strengthened international strategies against radical groups. Security forces, following Emwazi's death, targeted other radical figures and enhanced global security measures to prevent the spread of radical ideologies. This process emphasized the significance of international security cooperation and effective strategies.